What's up, good people? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to Wind Down Wednesday. Y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what we do. You know where we at. You know what's going on. I'm just happy to be here again today, again this week. We always talking about the latest and the greatest of whatever is going on in the city and the United States and, pretty much everywhere. But when we get the information, we like to put it out there. But y'all know what time it is. It's Wind Down Wednesday time. And I'm Sandy. I'm sitting here, no need to explain how we do it or what we do. Even when we do it, we just happy to do it. My girl is on the other end. As always, she doing her thing. We are always busy. Even on Wind Down Wednesdays, we are busy. There's something that we got to do either before, after, or in between. So thanks for tuning in. I'm Sandy and my girl Chanice. Y'all know who she is. Y'all know what she does. She a busy woman. But the one thing about it is right now, she trying to get some food. She trying to get some food. She trying to eat. One thing I know about my sister is that she loves to eat. As small as she is, she loves to eat. I mean, there's never a time that we don't go out somewhere. Pre-COVID, because we don't go anymore. Pre-COVID, she's always eating. The child can eat twice as much as I can. And it's like, hey, but it's okay. And don't gain a lick of weight. And you would think that pre-COVID or COVID that she would be as big as a house. But no. She doesn't. She don't gain a weight. When I say she don't gain no weight, she gains no weight. But she is always eating, always eating. Love to eat. I mean, don't miss a meal. She don't miss a meal.
So I gotta put a disclaimer out there. What's up, folks?
Put
I know what time it is.
Put a disclaimer out there.
It's Wind Down Wednesday. Y'all able to get a whole lot of stuff. It's particularly this Wednesday. I was trying to go get me something to eat real quick before we had to get on the show. And the folks at Wendy's decided they want to kind of be smart aleck. So I got a refund, and as you can see in my background, I'm at the Waffle House.
One of my favorite places.
Give me a sandwich, you know what I'm saying, that I can eat once we get off the air. So my apologies. It's Wind Down Wednesday. Y'all know we keep it 1,000%. I'm here to keep it 1,000%. So that's why you see Waffle House in my background.
Okay? But no need to apologize to the people because that's how we do it.
No apologies. No apologies. Just keep it 1,000. That's it.
We gotta eat. So if we have to eat in between, eat before, hey, it's just something that we do. We gotta do. It's called living. We gotta continue to live by whatever means necessary. We gotta continue to do that. So
for sure.
We are doing Wind Down Wednesdays, and y'all know it's COVID, it's COVID, it's COVID, it's COVID. I mean, I can't say the word enough. We get so tired of talking about COVID, but that's the only thing right now that's pretty much going on that's real major, other than voting.
True.
And I was hearing that it's a lot of people voting, and then the line was long, and then the line isn't long. But it doesn't matter how long the line is. If you want to go vote, feel free to go vote. The polls are open until like 5, I think, or maybe 7. Not sure, but I'll post it. But it's even open on Saturdays and Sundays. So for those that are working during the week, we would like for you to get out and go vote.
Forward the link to you because I don't know his
number. It's simple. I mean, that's easy. We hope it's easy. For a lot of people, it's not easy. There's a struggle with some voting, with some people getting out voting. There is a struggle with that. So if you need a ride, I'm gonna put it in the comments. If you need a ride to the polls, there's a number that you can call here in Cincinnati, the state of Ohio. You can get a ride to the poll to the Board of Elections.
Yes.
And they come and they sanitize the bus, after every trip. It's only so many people that can sit on the bus that they will pick up. But they would definitely come and talk to you and pick you up and take you, wait for you, and bring you back if you don't have a car. So if you need a ride, I will post that ride number in the link, so you can get a ride to the Board of Elections. Now, how
Yeah.
about that?
So
So
you
what's
can
going on? Tell the people. So tonight we talking about a little bit of everything. We're talking about it all. The thing that I've been discussing with some people earlier. First of all, I'm gonna be glad when this election is over. I
definitely
don't like the negative ads that are going up that people are talking about and showing, and if you put the truth out there about your opponent, then it's fine. But when you don't
right.
put the truth out there about your opponent, then
That's,
it
that's not
allows
fine.
others to
That's
believe
not fine.
that you're doing something wrong.
But on that note, we are gonna have a special guest. So, and our special guest, we won't say who that is, but I'm sure will cover some of the questions that we be having, concerning some of the things that we've seen, as far as the negative ads. So yes,
Yeah,
just stay tuned. Just stay tuned. We're gonna cover a lot here this time. Let's go and
I
with
think it's
that.
ridiculous. I just think it's ridiculous that people would go um the limit that they go through, and two, just to defame somebody, to try to tear down their
The
yeah,
character,
their character. These things doesn't make sense to me, but it has happened over the years and over the years and over the years, especially during election time. I just, it's something that I could never wrap around my head. Just say what you've done.
right? Just
Say what
focus on
you've done.
you and what you can do and what you can give instead of shortcutting people. But that's just always how it's been. Personally, over all of these commercials, the race baiting, all of that. Like I'm really, it's very exhausting. It's very tiresome. Whoever you vote for that person. And if you're running, do a clean run. Do what you have to do. Fair on, that's on the fair, that's on the up and up, and
Yep.
focus on you. And that, that's basically it. But it's tiring every time you turn around, every commercial, on the radio or on TV, wherever you look, it's always something specifically negative.
Negative. And I just cannot figure out. My thing is, and I look at these political ads, and it's not some, all of them do it, but then there are some that are worse than others.
Oh man.
And then there's some that don't do it. They're trying to just run based on what they have done and the things that they have accomplished and what they are trying to do or going to do for you when they get in office. But
Or you're right, what the knowledge that they have, or from what they know.
right. So, because I see these ads, and it's always, even if you listen to them and they talk on these debates, especially locally. Locally, they talk on these debates, and it's just like, I don't get it. There's nothing that they have said that, okay, what are you gonna do? This is my plan. This is what I'm going to do for the people here and for the people over there. Only thing I always hear is, this person didn't do this and they didn't do that, and they're going against this and they're going against that, and when they was in a position, they didn't do nothing for you, and they didn't do. I mean, it's always negative.
Negative Nancy.
At what point do we turn it around and start being positive? So do you think that COVID has a lot to do with the negativity? Because I think it's a lot now. It's a lot more negativity now than it's probably ever been. So do you think COVID has anything to do with that?
I don't. I just feel like negative people are gonna be negative people. And we're in a time where, especially with social media, people thrive off of negative. Like they'd rather see, and they'd rather comment on things that are negative than uplifting,
Right.
positive. And so we're just in that. We're just in that season. It's just that we're in that time where people like to entertain negative and they like to entertain foolishness that
Yep.
has become entertaining.
Yep. And and that's it. I look at it as a form of entertainment. It's like, but who are you entertaining? It's almost like it's become this year, all of these people that are running for political office has turned into a reality show.
Right.
It's a pure reality show.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And I don't know if I'll ever understand it. I just want people to get out and vote so we can make a difference and be a difference. So my question is, okay, so you have been friends with a lot of people. I've been friends with a lot of people. Have you lost friends due to the current climate that we're in, especially under the
racial tension that's been
the
happening.
umbrella of who we have in presidency now, in the president's position? Are you maintaining that friendship with some of your people?
Some of them I am. Some of them are definitely against a lot of the things that he's said and he's physically done. I'm finding that a lot more people I'm finding that a lot more people who had things to say, negatively, specifically racial, that this has been their platform to really speak how they feel. And we wake up every day black. Like I've never woken up another color besides.
Exactly.
I'm Indian as well, but I wake up the same color every day. So there's always been that issue, but I'm finding more people being more comfortable and a lot bolder and how they really feel as far as racially. And some of the things that's being said or that's done, it's just like it's out there now because it's everything starts from the head.
Yep.
So we have someone who has been an issue with women, like I can grab her by the genitals, I can do this, I can do that. And so you open up the door for other people who feel like because you're our leader that they can follow that. And so that's a big problem.
So do you think that some people have suppressed the way they have been feeling over the years, and with the individual or different people that are in positions that they now feel comfortable with saying whatever it is that they want to say and treating people accordingly? Do you think that that it's been suppressed and it's something that they just been wanting to do and now they just feel like they can do it?
Yeah, basically, definitely.
So some of your friends and some of mine too, and I have some friends that are non-black, that are not black, so with you, and I can answer this question for myself too, but have you lost friendships with with some of your people that you have been friends with for years? Have you lost friendships because of the racial issues that we're currently having now?
I'm gonna say yeah. I have. Some have maybe not necessarily. Some have been lost. Some have just backed away. Some have, some people double back. Some people like, look, this how I feel. That's that. It is what it is.
Right.
I'm not a person that always that tries to get into those type of debates anyway. But I am a person that if that situation or that conversation comes up, that I want to educate you and I want to get your perspective on why you feel this way. You know, and I want to give you mine on why I feel this way. And so for some people that works, and for others they like, and sometimes you just gotta walk away like, okay, I'm glad that I know how you feel now.
Right. Right.
I'm glad I know where you stand.
Exactly.
Now I know how to approach you or not approach you. So how to take you or not take you.
Yep. It is what it is. And my thing is, it's like, you're laughing and you're talking and you're having a good time. You're hanging out with people, prior to all of this racial injustice and racial issues that we're currently having, because I think the racial stuff has always been there, but I think it's more prevalent now than it's ever been before. But to think that you broken bread with these people, and you've had a good time, and you've been chilling and kicking it over their house, your house, your kids have spent the night, it's just like now all of a sudden, it makes you think like, I really didn't know that person. But you're genuine. You've been the person that you've been forever. But you're genuine. You are who you are. You haven't changed. But then all of a sudden, it's like, what?
Night and day.
Yeah, it's a night and day thing. What happened?
Right, exactly.
I'm like, it's crazy to me. So have I lost friends because of the racial issues and the current state that we're in, and with the police brutality? I'm not going to say I lost them, but I will say that we look at each other in a different way. They look at me in a different way, and I look at them in a different way. So I'm not going to say I've lost friendships. I just know now how to treat you.
Exactly.
It's simple. It's more simple for some than it is for others.
That's true.
So I mean, for me, it's simple. Growing up in an environment where growing up in an environment where people treated people accordingly. It didn't matter about the color of your skin, because that's the way we were raised. That's the way my mama raised us,
Right.
And my neighbors, their children were the same way. So it's like, and now to see that some of the people that I grew up with, went to school with, their mindset has totally changed because of the racial issues that are going on around us. It's just make me like scratch my head. It's like you were that way when we was growing up.
Right. Yeah, so, we went out of town this past weekend, and there was a place. Hey, Yolanda, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah,
so you
what's up, Yolanda? And thank you very much.
But we, was at this place and was like, hey, can we go check out the upstairs? And they was like, sure, like, yeah, go check out the upstairs. Like, you may want to book it because of COVID, we can only have a certain amount of people, etc. Everybody knows what's happening with that. So we get up to this other level to check this place out, and they're like, do you have a reservation? We're like, no. And they're like, well, you have to have a reservation because of COVID, yada yada. And we're like, we understand. We spoke to someone downstairs. They told us it was okay if we came up and just kind of like, glanced around. And so once we said that basically we didn't have a reservation, we were like ignored, and they went on to the next people that were behind us. And so I was like, excuse me, ma'am, we just want to walk around, and we were told downstairs that it was okay to come up here to walk around, to look around. We would not have came up here, otherwise. So she was like briefly, really, smart, really nasty. So we walk around, we're looking around, and we're being followed. They follow us around the whole place. And so, I'm upset. Everybody I'm with is upset because we're like, well, dang, we want to give y'all some money.
Right.
But now because now you following me around the whole place, and we like, why are you following us? Like,
right.
So we get back to the front. They like, well, COVID this, COVID that, and so of course Jabron was like, well, it would have been better off if you just said like, hey, because of COVID, we can't let you guys in if you don't have a reservation. He's like, I would have been cool with that. But because you said it was because you allow us to walk around, but then you follow us, it's taking my mind back to going into a store and being followed because of the color of my skin.
Right.
And the lady, she wasn't trying to hear that, she died. She basically tuned out and went on to something else. And the guy, he tried to get rah-rah. We was like, wait a minute, hold on. We're not trying to call you a racist. We're not trying to argue with you. We're trying to get you to think and understand how being followed when we've been okay to walk around, how that makes us feel.
Right.
Let us educate you on why we're offended by this. And so he got quiet, and he kind of listened up to what was being said, but you already feel some type of way
Yep.
because I was okay to do this, but now you go follow me around while I do it. That's not okay.
No.
And that's what we mean by blind,
Yep.
what they call it, racism, but you don't see it as a problem because it's not happening to you. I
Nope.
said that's just like having family members that are, in the law field, and it doesn't matter. I got family members in the law field. If I'm getting pulled over by an officer, I'm still going to have a fear for my life because of what's happening in the world today.
Absolutely.
I can say that I have someone in law, but at the end of the day, like, is that really gonna matter? Is that gonna keep me alive? This is how we try to break it down so that people can understand it. So that's my thing with when I had these conversations with people who don't understand their ignorance, who don't understand their own biases and their racism. You have to break it down for them,
Yep.
and it's
Yep.
very frustrating.
Extremely. Extremely. And it's gotten worse. And then what's up, Robert? What's going on? Robert Lewis, thanks for chiming in.
Tuning in, that's right.
One of our favorites, one of our favorites. But see, that's what I say. People don't understand that. And even like you said, the guy was getting ready to be rah, 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 because I guess he must have thought y'all was gonna be rah, 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 when
That's
hey,
yep.
when you're faced with issues, racial issues, or when you're offended by someone, you don't always have to do the rah, rah, rah. You
No,
don't have to do the rah. I'm like you. When I get pulled over by the police, I'm scared too. I don't want nobody to think because I do law enforcement on a daily basis that I'm not fearful, that I'm not scared. Heck, I'm scared for my child when she is out and about doing things. And it's not just about the women, about black men, it's about black women too. When
yeah,
This is what people don't understand. This is what really makes me mad. When people call for the police, they are calling the police to help them.
that's right.
They don't call for the police to kill somebody or to murder somebody or to shoot somebody down or to beat somebody up. They are calling because they want your help. They need you to help them at that moment, of whatever is going on to get them out of a situation or whatever. Nobody calls the police to
To be,
die or get
that's
killed.
right.
Nobody. And it's so nerve wracking. And I was talking about this today with another law enforcement personnel, one of my coworkers. Every time you turn on the freaking TV or you pick up your phone or somebody send you a message, it's always, now here we go again. The police have killed somebody
Oh my
because they were
gosh.
trying to, I don't know, they called for help. And all of a sudden, now the person is dead. I don't, let me not say I don't understand it, but my thing, and I can only speak for me, the training that we get, and that's everybody doesn't get that. And I'm gonna say
Right.
that everybody doesn't get the training that we get. I look at what the incident that happened in Philadelphia. They didn't even have tasers. Who?
So there was two recent incidents
Yep.
that I just watched. The one was where the guy was, I guess want to say, they were saying that he was chasing the police or he was really hostile. He had a knife.
Well, see,
Um,
once again, they call for help. The mama
they
called.
called, they called,
The
right? They
mama
didn't call
called
the
the
police.
police
They called some type of mental place
because
because he was a
that's
mental
it. The
something. He had a
mental
breakdown
illness.
or something happened. Exactly.
He
But the
was
police
mental
came
ill.
and said, right,
Yes.
but the police came and said. So I watched that video and it was very hard to watch, especially seeing him get shot in front of his mom, first of all. Then I watched another video, and I can't remember where this is, so I won't say, where there was a white male and a female white officer, and he was chasing her with a knife around the car several times, threatening her calling her out of her name several times around the car, several times around the car, several times around the car. There was not any other officers around to assist her at that time. When she finally did shoot, when he actually came like coming towards her, like lunged at her after going around his vehicle multiple times. She shot one time to injure him, and they called in an ambulance or something to give him, to see that he was okay. The gun wasn't emptied on him. There wasn't 17 cars backed up the street, and it's just saddening.
It is, and let me say, speaking from being in it,
Yep.
and being an experienced law enforcement individual, women police officers have not more of a difficult time dealing with people. If you look at who's doing the shootings, it's men. It's always a male officer. I ask myself, why is it that women that's police officers don't have that same issue with individuals when it comes to talking to somebody, or when it comes to being a
aggressive situation,
to somebody that's overly aggressive?
Right.
Why is it that we can handle ourselves in a different way compared to our male co-workers? They take it another notch up. Somebody, once again, I said that on another show, need to do some data work, some homework. The difference between men and women, why is it that women aren't doing the shooting and doing all that shooting and pop, 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 compared to when the males are on scene, the male police officer on scene, but they feel the need to, shoot more than one time. I cannot say how many times a person is supposed to shoot. I'm not going to sit here and say that. I can't say that.
Yeah, and I definitely respect and understand, like, you have to go home to your family. Like, I respect that to the fullest. But for me to see basically the same thing, a man running around a vehicle with a weapon, a knife, and just running around several times and spewing out threats like, I'm gonna stab you, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna do this to you, I'm gonna do that to you, around a vehicle several times. And then when he does lunge, just be shot one time, just to be injured. But then I see the same thing with a black male running around a vehicle with a knife that he's been asked to drop, just as the other gentleman was asked to drop the weapon several times and did not. And then just a whole lot of shots rang out in front of this man's mom in the middle of the street.
But once I can't sit here and Monday morning quarterback. But once again, somebody needs to do the data.
It's sad.
Somebody needs to do the data when it comes to women police officers and male police officers. It's just, and it's not that we don't know how to handle ourselves, because I feel like any woman that puts on a uniform and go out every day, I'm sure she can handle herself. I'm sure she can handle herself. Definitely. But the question is, why is it that we don't jump the gun?
Right. What is the thought process, and what is the, the care and the, all of those things have to be taken into consideration, because males are trained the same. Like, it's the same line of training across the board. It's not, we're going to be a little harder for the guys training, a little bit easy on the ladies.
Right.
To my knowledge, it's the same all the way across.
All the way.
It just depends on the individual, where their mindset is, what their thought process is when these things are happening.
Yep. Hey, we got a special guest that's popping in on us tonight, people. He's about to join us, the one and only, my friend, my main man. What is going on?
What's the business, good people? How you all doing this evening?
Hey, it don't get no better than what we're looking at right
now. You're so flattering. I appreciate that.
Yes.
You are so welcome. The one and only Fanon Rucker. let me say that again.
No.
The one and only Fanon Rucker. How
That's
are
right.
you
You know
doing?
what? The last time I was on here was probably a year and about 2 months ago. And I was about to step down from the bench, and I was talking about stepping into retirement and private practice. And I had something else exciting going on. Well, we're in the culmination of that excitement because we are 6 days from history.
Woo!
Despite
Six, baby, six.
foolishness and the ridiculous shade throwing that's going on right now, I tell people to not be deterred. Don't even fall into that trap of believing that trap that's out there. We are actually at the point of helping to make a system better than we have it, better than we've known, better than what people are even believing that we can have. We're right there at that point. So I'm not upset. I'm excited. And I'd say that these record numbers of people coming out to the polls is exactly an example of other people's excitement about where we're about to be. So it's all good.
It's all good, and it's like, we were just talking about that, about the negativity that's going on with these political ads and, but I don't never hear nobody saying, what you gonna do? What are you gonna do for me? What you gonna do for us? Obviously you haven't done anything at this point because you could tell in those little nasty ads that you run it that we know are all a bunch of lies. It's a bunch of lies.
No doubt about it.
Yes.
Well, but that also, and this is politics 101, when somebody is down, when somebody is losing, when somebody is desperate, they stop talking about the good that they've done. They stop talking about what they're going to do when they're in that position. And all they focus on is trying to bring down the other person. Because if the other person wasn't winning, then they wouldn't have any reason to talk about them. That's just the way this works. I've been in politics for a long time. So really, that's why I say people should not be discouraged or upset by it. Be enlightened and understand why it's happening that way, because we're up. And the only way that we win is by people not listening to the polls, but going to the polls.
That's it. That's right. So tell us a little bit about what's going on, what you're doing, and what you're going to do for people like me. Because let me say this, the Sentinels Police Association supports Mr. Fanon Rucker. Let me say that. I'm going to let that come out my mouth. Cassandra Maria Tucker supports Fanon Rucker. Let me say that.
So do I.
That's what's up.
That's right.
I want to get that out the way. The Arnold support Mr. Fanon Rucker. So let me say that. Now, I know that you did not stand up and say defund the police, get rid of the police this and the police that. As many police friends that you have,
my God,
relatives that's in law enforcement, how in the world can anybody say you said anything negative about, and then had you in some Kenosha, Wisconsin, or somewhere you ain't never been?
One of my friends said, man, my boy said, man, when did you go to Beirut?
Exactly. I'm like, are you kidding me?
You know what? And really that the commercial that's running right now truly is funny. It really is funny because it's like a B-rated movie or something like that. And they keep stamping this defund the police across my forehead. I've said since May. I said it publicly. I said it privately. We produced a commercial, a specific digital ad that said, let me be clear. I do not support. I don't know why they have a hard time. Let me say it louder for the people in the back. I do not support. But what we see is across the country, and then really across these ads, that's a label, this radical movement, the defund the police. That's something they stamp on anybody that says, look, we recognize that people have individual constitutional liberties and rights, and we as a unit in a collaborative way can have better than we have. And so they stamp them and say, oh, they're radical and they support all of these radical ideas and movements. And again, that's not anything that's been about my career, nothing about my positions, nothing about who I am, what I've represented. It's completely false. And so what do you do other than yell, that's not true, that's not true, when you gave all interviews saying it's not true, and you hope that the truth will out ultimately.
And the truth is when the people get out of
right here at Tuck Radio.
You heard it firsthand here. And the only way that it's going to change is people have to get out and vote. And with that being said, what is the Board of Elections looking like these days,
Oh my God.
with people coming in?
So we have seen since the first day of early voting record numbers. Let me explain what that means. So in 2008 was the first time we had early voting in Ohio. And on that day, and actually me and Eric Kearney and a bunch of us camped out. We actually slept all night out at the Board of Elections on that first year just to, get people excited about it, and it was downtown. So in 2008, it was good numbers, about 700 plus people voted on the first day of early voting. In 2012, you had about 800 folks voting on the first day. In 2016, they set records for the first day of early voting. About 920 people voted on the first day of early voting in 2016. That shattered records. This year, on the first day of early voting, we had 3,100 people on the first day of early voting. So 4 times what the previous record was. And every single day since then, there have been record numbers of people at the polls. We have 4,000 people vote in person last Thursday, broke all voting records that we ever had. And you want to know every single day. So we've had so many people coming out to the polls and voting in person and dropping off the absentee ballots. And how do I know that it's causing an impact on our opponents? Or how is it making a big splash? Biden was here 2 weeks ago. Biden came to Cincinnati 2 weeks ago. And then the very next week, Ivanka Trump was here. And then 2 days later, Mike Pence, the vice president of our country, was here in Cincinnati. Why? Because Cincinnati is showing out at the polls. So many people are showing up, outpacing Cleveland and Columbus, and they have more people than we do. So really, we're blowing up all of the numbers and the records. And what's good for me and what's good for other folks I'm on a slate with, 80% of those who were coming, at least in the first week and a half, were walking up with blue sample ballot slates in their hand. That's the list of Democratic candidates. They were passing by the pink cards that were represented by the other folks. 80%. And like 1 out of 10 were going over to asking them for one, but 8 out of 10 were coming over asking for us. And the other ones had it on their phone. So that's a very good sign. You talk about blue waves. That's a very, very encouraging sign that come November the 4th and January the 3rd, we're truly going to have a different looking, a different acting, a different connected, a different perspective on our system and on our positions of policy making. I mean, I'm so excited, not about the election, but about what we're about to be able to accomplish.
Yes. Yes. My thing too is, there are a lot of old people in place that needs to be removed. So I know you said you see more blue cards. Do you think that Hamilton County, the state of Ohio, is going to flip the script and go back to being to being a blue state and a blue county? Do you believe that?
Well, so with regard to the state, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you what's going on in Hamilton County. I can't tell you what's going on in the rural counties. We got 88 counties in the state. So I can only tell you in perspective on one. I know that there are long lines in other places, and I know that the prevailing numbers of people in these long lines are democratically leaning voters. And I know that the polls, which of course, again, polls don't mean a whole lot except the voting polls, but the polls said before about, a couple months ago that Trump had this place by 5, 6, 7 points. And so that's why Biden wasn't even playing here. Well, things have changed pretty completely. And so now it's a dead heat. And so with the numbers that we're having in Cuyahoga and the numbers that we're having in Hamilton County and the numbers that we're having, that is a suggestion that on election day, like in Georgia, like in South Carolina, like in Florida, like in Arizona, like in Texas is actually in play. Texas ain't been in play since, I don't know, Lincoln was running for office. I mean, so all these are now in play that have not been before. And so Ohio very well could flip. And I can tell you about Hamilton County. Hamilton County has been voting for the Democratic presidential candidate since Barack Obama was elected, actually since President Clinton, but they did vote for Bush. But that was the last time in 2004 that Hamilton County went for the Republican candidate. Hillary Clinton won this place by, I think, 8 points.
Yes, she
There's
did.
some predictions that Biden went to win this place by 17 to 20 points, which is like 80,000 vote lead out of 300,000-400,000 people voting. That's some of the predictions. And so obviously Biden wins by that long, and there's a top of the ticket type of roll down, then that means you can have a whole bunch of new judges, a new prosecutor, a new county commissioner, a new sheriff in town, who is making history as well. And so that's what we're looking at with these numbers and with the predictions.
And I'm excited too. I'm just as excited as you are. I mean, I don't even know if I'll sleep on November 3rd. I just may stay up for 2 days just to make sure, if somebody pinch me that, everything is going accordingly. So, and I want you to make sure that before we get out of here, you got to tell the people, what you're going to do when you get in office, because we know you're going to make it. But before you get to that point, how do you feel about voter suppression? Because there's a lot going on around the country. And then how do you feel about the Supreme Court nominee or now justice that they are sworn in? Those two things before you tell the people what you going to do for us.
All right. So first I'll talk about the Supreme Court justice. We tend to try to predict what someone's going to do once they get into that position. And historically, the expectations have not necessarily been consistent with our expectations. The realization, the reality of it. I mean, people thought that when Roberts got on the bench, he was going to be a far right, person that was going to gut all of these rights and stuff like that. In fact, he's actually been the one to bridge and to help to get over some of the more conservative principles that the court would have run with if he had gone with them. The guy who was previous in that role, Kennedy, was expected to be on the far right, and he ended up moving more to the center and to the left. So, it's hard. I mean, I will say that historically, and I'll only speak at it from a criminal justice standpoint. Historically, judges and justices who are more conservative, like Scalia, when it comes to criminal justice, they believe very strongly in individual rights and the protection of individual freedoms and the limitation of government intrusion into our lives. So they're more into protecting constitutional rights and things. People were very critical about Scalia because of some of his more religious and some more conservative positions. But if you look at a lot of his decisions when it comes to criminal justice, he was very, very helpful to equity and justice in our criminal justice system because of his conservative leanings. So if our prediction is that he's consistent, at least from a criminal justice standpoint, it may be a good thing. Now on the Affordable Care Act and with abortion rights, with all those types of things, it's a little more difficult to be excited. And there are even some that are concerned that she's going to be one who roll back the definition of marriage. So that, when the court decided in Obergefell that there was a constitutional right for folks to marry who they want to, that could be reversed under her. I don't know if there's a case that's supposed to be coming back up to the court, but one of the more pressing issues is going to be this election. And if we have a dispute, if we got a replay of Bush versus Gore 2000, where the court decided the election, and that's why. So to go to the second issue, 2000 Bush versus Gore was really about voter suppression and hanging chads, and because there weren't enough people to vote to override the concern of these slim margins. Florida was at issue because there was a question about the legitimacy of the votes in Florida. And if we vote in sufficient numbers, it doesn't matter. There's no suppression. There's nobody convincing you not to show up. There's nobody standing at the poll saying that you can't turn your ballot in. There's no tricks because people are, number one, informed, they're engaged, they're excited, and they show up. And nobody's going to vote when you participate and are active. So what? They ask for my ID. Okay, I know I need ID when I get there. That's not suppression. That's information and education. So I don't get into the voter suppression piece a whole lot, just because if we fold our arms and say, please, my great grandfather died. He had water hoses turned on him trying to get the right to vote.
Yep.
Otis Moss's father walked 8 miles and was turned away in 3 different polling locations because he was trying to exercise his right. So in 2020, is somebody really going to be able to tell me that I can't go into a polling location, sign my name, and vote? Nah, I don't really accept that as a proposition.
Not me. Yeah. I'm with you. I dare you. I dare you.
I dare you.
Dog dare you.
I don't dare you. And I'm calling my lawyer up.
You got that right. You got that right. Now, before you tell the people, I got to ask you one more question. This is a part of you telling the people what you're going to do. With all of these killings that's going on, yes, they are killings because unfortunately, the police officers are killing people.
Yeah.
It's often. Every time we turn, I was just talking about it, every time you turn on the TV, something is happening that a police officer has done something. The police officer has put his weapon and shot somebody or whatever. In Philadelphia, to my understanding, they did not have tasers. I don't know, but in the 20th century, in 2020, tasers have been around for a long time. Now, when you become the prosecutor for the county, what are you going to change? What do you want to see different with all police, not just the city, with county? What do you want to see
globally
when you get in office?
Yeah. Well, so first of all, people need to understand that the prosecutor is the chief law enforcement officer for the county. And so the prosecutor is the one who sets the policy for how these agencies, and we have 50 agencies within our jurisdiction, how those agencies present cases to the prosecutor's office, which then get presented to the courts or to the grand jury or juvenile court. And so I will be an active engager with our chiefs of police for our surrounding areas, so that it's clearly communicated to them and they clearly communicate to me what are our expectations. How do we help to bridge our relationships between the community and law enforcement? I'm in a unique position to be able to do that because I do have relationships with law enforcement and the community. So my expectation will be that we'll be in a collaborative process, kind of like what the city has as a collaborative agreement. It won't be the strictures and the details of the collaborative process, but it will be in the general sense, in the esoteric sense of the word, a collaboration between the system, the community, and law enforcement. And I'm happy to be that bridge, the intentional bridge, not the passive bridge like we have, because that's an intentional issue when we talk about bridging relationships. So that's my answer about how I anticipate, how I expect. And I also plan to tell them, look, we don't need to be charging folks for sleeping on park benches. I mean, look, we bring that stuff to the prosecutor, it very well may be dismissed because we don't need to be wasting resources on that kind of stuff. We have a rising homicide and violent crime rate, and we need to be focused our resources on bringing officers and investigative resources and tools to bringing down our homicide and our violent crime rate. And some of these initiatives that I also have will absolutely do that as well.
Good.
All right.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Focus on what's going on inside, to get, and you're right. I was talking to somebody today and one of the another coworker was saying, oh man, we're at 80, in homicides in the city of Cincinnati, 80 something or 80. Oh, we gonna hit 100. We gonna hit 100. Why are you bragging and boasting and about to have a party because we may reach 100? What you gonna do? I mean, you wear the same uniform I wear every day, and you are cheering and saying we gonna make it to 100, but you ain't out there trying to do anything different to help us not get to 100. Yeah. So I'm glad to hear that you're going to be collaborating with everybody to make sure that we get the job done. And, we are held accountable if we do something we ain't got no business doing. Because, it is what it is at the end of the day. You ain't riding boats. You ain't going on golf trips with people, sitting down, eating steaks and all that stuff. You ain't doing that. Smoking cigars.
And if you're in a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. I mean, that's just what it is.
That's absolutely correct. And when we talk about... And when we talk about our violent crime and our homicide rates, there's several ways that we can proactively bring it down. I know that the city has just put in, I think $1 million or something, and they've added another prosecutor to the federal law enforcement agency to help them, which I didn't understand because the city prosecutors don't prosecute those types of cases. But whatever the case is, they've added a city prosecutor as part of on loan to the federal prosecutor's office. Oh, well.
Hey, the experience hasn't joined us. What's up, OJ?
So what we've had in times in the past, and and I kept asking really for years, like when we look at our violent crime, how do we bring it down? And the best way to do it is not to reinvent the wheel, but to look at those instances when we've had an increasing violent crime rate and look at how and under what circumstances we were able to successfully change the narrative and bring down that violent crime rate. What tools did we use? Who did we engage? How did we engage them? And that's what then we duplicate or even expand to make it happen. And so through that process, and I am working with and have worked with several law enforcement administrators as well as the officers on these issues. And as a judge, I was part of Ceasefire. And as a prosecutor, so I remember when we first brought in Ceasefire and we first brought in the Boston Plan. And for people that don't know, the Boston Plan was a specific initiative that identified the highest risk violent offenders by groups in Boston. And then it gathered community partners like law enforcement, religious leaders, community leaders, youth groups. It specifically addressed youth violence, but it was expanded to say, look, in any community you go through, 2 to 4% of the population loosely is responsible for 80% of the violent crime. And so you identify those at-risk populations and you engage them. You engage them with your law enforcement. You engage them with your support networks. You engage them with your religious entities. And when you do that, you let them know, look, we know who you are. We know who you rocking with. We know who you engage with. We know who you bothering with. We know who your ladies are. We know all that stuff. And so we're watching you. And when something happens, we're going to engage you. And when folks are on their way out of prison, and they're identified as at risk because they're connected to these groups, then you bring them in when they come out. And you sit down with law enforcement in the room and you bring them in with reentry program and the resources they have available and say, look, you are at risk for violent crime, either as a victim or as a perpetrator. Either one is going to have you dead or back in prison. Right. We as a court, we as a system are not only invested in your accountability, but we're also interested in and invested in your success. And that's why we have these resources available for job programs, for housing, for mental health issues, for medical. It's not, and so you need to take advantage of this stuff so that you move away from the community that you're involved with. Now, we used to have something called a check-in every month or so. And the check-in was where you would bring law enforcement, federal and state in the room. You would bring SERVE, which were the community workers, into the room who were engaged with these groups. You would bring a couple other community partners. Then you would have a judge at the front of the room. How do I know that? Because I was the judge and law enforcement asked to be part of that program. And so we would actually engage these groups individually. Now, since COVID, there has not been a check-in because of health concerns. And ironically, since COVID, we've had this meteoric increase in homicides and violent crime. Now, that's a hell of a coincidence that because we have not been able to personally engage in these groups that we've already personally identified, that now crime is on the rise. So we need to re-engage. And the chief even talks about the fact that we have not been able to re-engage with these groups on the street. And that makes a difference. So how do we do that? We re-engage and we expand the groups that are part of that support network. We expand the church folks. We expand the youth groups. We expand the community groups. We expand those groups so that they are engaged with these communities. That's one thing. And the prosecutor can be an advocate and a support of this program. And that's what I was going to say. You got to be in a position where you want to do that, where it's important enough for you to do that. Because right now, the people that we have in office and the people that we have in place, that's not important for them. That's not something that they want to do. That's not something that they want to see being accomplished, because they want the very opposite of what you are trying to do and what you are going to do and what you want to do and what you've been involved in. And that's obvious. I mean, it's obvious because they aren't saying anything. They aren't doing anything. They're not putting their plan out there on the table so people can see what they want to do and their plans on doing. Now, once you get in there, are you going to make any changes with, I don't know how many blacks you even got. I don't know how many black, lawyers, assistant this and assist. I don't know how many you got. I don't even know how many is in there, but it cannot be that many black folks up there. It just can't be.
Well,
So,
I was gonna ask what specifically are you focused on targeting on when you first once you win? What are you specifically like? I need to get to this right now, meat and potatoes.
well, addressing the violent crime. I mean, straight up. I mean, we all want to live in neighborhoods where we can go outside, where we can ride our bikes or slide board. You know what I mean? And look, I grew up in one of the roughest cities that our country has to offer. So I know what it's like to be afraid to go home and afraid to come out the house. And I am viciously in favor of protecting or making sure that nobody lives like I grew up. So that literally is the priority, because safety is really job one. That's what everybody wants. But there's so many things that need attention that I don't know that I can focus on one and ignore any of the others at the same time. I mean, we have people, 65 to 70% of people sitting in jail right now there because they can't afford not to be there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Because they can't afford not to be there. Now, if somebody is in there on a criminal damaging for $2,500 bond, and somebody else gets charged with criminal damaging who happened to have the money to get out, they both are on the same risk level. They both have the same chance of coming back to court. So why is one sitting in jail for 30 days before their case is heard and the other one's actually out, able to take care of their families and their homes and go to work and everything else? If the assessment is based on what risk of harm the person causes, then that's a better tool than to find out how much money somebody has in their pocket. So New Jersey had a bipartisan bail reform where it was Republican, Democrat, everybody agreed to it. The state legislature actually changed the law, where they eliminated cash bail for nonviolent offenses, which freed up about 35% of the space, because 75% of people in New Jersey's jails, 75% were there and had not been convicted or were awaiting sentence. 75%. We talk about mass incarceration. The greatest majority of people in our jails and prisons are not convicted of anything. They're awaiting trial. Our United States Supreme Court says that the presumption should be that people are out before they're found guilty, not that they're in. So if we say fine, we got to protect the public though. So we're going to focus on nonviolent offenses, and we're going to change the assessment to the same that New Jersey does. New Jersey has an assessment, and we have a tool, but New Jersey has one that asks the question about the risk of harm. And if a person meets a certain threshold, then they stay in. If they below that certain threshold based on these questions, they're out. Right. And because of that assessment, they have reduced their homicide rate by 40%. They've reduced their violent crime rate by 33%. So in addition to re-engage these communities, we can actually reduce our violent crime by changing our bail policy, reducing our jail population, and changing the assessment about who we keep in and who we allow out. I mean, that's day one. So I'm going to do that. That's going to be our new policy. And then on day two, I'm going to have a review of all cases we have pending to ensure that the people who are currently in jail are in there consistent with the new policy that the prosecutor has now, so we can free up more space. And how do I know it's going to free up space? Because we did it during COVID, and we reduced our jail population by 35%. When they acted consistent with exactly what I'm talking about right now. There's some truth to this.
You better go. You better do it. You better do it.
We got this. We got this. We got this. And if the people don't see and understand and know the difference between you and your opponent, then they're not seeing what we're seeing. You know, they are literally and figuratively seeing black and white. And I mean, they're not seeing what you want to do and how you're going to go about making that change. And I'm excited. I'm just as happy as all get out, you know, and I know you cannot do a watch party because of COVID, you know, but just guarantee and know that I will be texting and calling.
We root for you.
Yes, I will be texting and calling you and saying, we got this, we got this.
Look, we have already made history by the amount of money that we've raised, by the endorsements that we've received, by the number of people that have been involved in this campaign. We have already broken records locally and nationally and statewide. I mean, there's national attention on this race at this time. So no matter what happens on election night, we have already raised the bar of what has been discussed that wouldn't have been discussed otherwise. Now, I also tend to believe that not only have we set history already, but we are going to set and make history on November the 3rd, because I'll be the first black male ever elected in the state of Ohio.
Woo!
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And now is the time. Now is the time.
That's right.
Make it happen.
That's
You know,
right.
Otis said he gonna be at the virtual party. Otis, we all gonna be at the virtual
That's
party.
what's up. That's what's up.
We all gonna be at the virtual. I just wish
That's
I could
right.
be there in person. You
I
know, it's
know.
like
I know.
it's always good to be somewhere in person, but due to COVID, once again, here we go with
That's all
COVID.
right.
COVID just set us back a little bit. We got to do things a little bit different.
Damn,
But it's
that
okay.
COVID.
It's all right. It's all right. COVID is what's gonna get you in office. We ain't worried about it. You know, we gonna COVID get you in office. We don't care. Along with both.
So real
Along
talk,
with
I will say that, you know, there have been a lot of things that have happened during this campaign that could have never been expected. I mean, obviously, when I stepped down from the bench, I had no idea, you know, what was going to happen in the primary. I had no idea that we were going to be in the middle of a historic pandemic that was going to shut down our state and our country and change the way that we campaign. There was no way in hell that any of us could have predicted George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery that was going to set off or spark the largest social justice movement in history, with thousands of people walking through the streets of all racial stripes, of all occupations, of all socioeconomic statuses, claiming no justice, no peace, and Black Lives Matter, and raising their fist and saying we want new and we want responsive and accountability. No one could have predicted that.
Nobody.
But those are all things that have absolutely contributed to these long lines at the polls, to all of these folks. We have the most diverse ticket on the Democratic ticket in the history of Hamilton County. I mean, all of these things have culminated in this place for history to be made.
That's right.
I mean, you know, all things work good.
Jabron said he DJ in the virtual party. It's on. It's going
We'll
down.
have to get together on that. We'll have to get together on that.
We just know we gonna have a good time. Look,
right.
we gonna have a good time. It's going down.
That's
You
right.
know, it's just it's for time. It's for time. It's your time. We believing in that. We believing in trusting God. You got a mass support. You know, I saw you on my virtual the last week at my church with my pastor, you know, on the virtual Zoom, you know, and he was talking today on the radio about you, and you know, so you got mass support, you know, you got mass love, and you know, we pushing you, and we're telling everybody else to make sure, you know, it's for non-Rutgers Day.
That's
it's
right.
for non-Rutgers Day. So everything is love.
You got the complete package. You got the complete package.
You better be donating some money. You better donate some money, Otis. We don't all that sponsorship. Your sponsorship better come with some dollars behind it. You heard it from me.
That's
Only
funny.
on Talk Radio.
Only right here.
Right.
But we are definitely glad that you took the time out of your busy schedule to come in and just tell us what you're gonna do. You know, some of the things and how you feel and what's going on in Hamilton County and how the voting is taking place right now. You know, I'm so excited that the people are taking their time out and coming in, standing in line, and it's not that bad. You know, they're moving them through real quickly. You know, they don't have to worry about spacing. You know, I think they're doing a great job over there at the Board of Elections. They're very busy, and you know, the ballots are coming in. You know, the absentee ballots are being dropped in the box. You know, it's a sad thing when in other states the ballot box has been burnt up by somebody, or they're burning down things or setting fires to stuff. So I must say that I'm very excited and happy that none of that has happened here in Cincinnati, in Hamilton County, state of Ohio. I think they're doing a great job trying to maintain and make sure things are done properly with your help and the other people that are running out there. So keep up the good work.
That's right.
Don't give a third. We're 6 days away. We are 6 days away.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
I'll sleep on the 7th day. Isn't that what happened?
That's right.
No, once you get in, you don't sleep.
No,
once you get in, ain't no sleep. Ain't no more sleep once you get in. Ain't no sleep.
Please. I'm about to buy a plane ticket. I'm dipping up out of here late on Tuesday night. I'll see y'all in about 3-4 days.
You gotta clear your mind before the work begins. Understood.
Right.
Exactly. The phone is going off, and I'm gonna get some rest and come out, you know, with my chest out, ready to roll, because we got a lot of work to do. But I'm so excited and passionate about it. This is not new stuff. This is a continuation, truly, of my entire career, and so I'm ready.
Good.
Thank you.
So, you know, we come to the end of the show, what we always do. You know, we got to lead the people with something positive. And I'm not saying, because you know, you the man. You always got something positive to say to the people. And they best to be putting their ears to the speaker
ears
so
on.
they
That's
can hear what thus says Fanon Rucker, because
Oh,
he's
my
about to
goodness.
give us some words of encouragement, some positive ending here before we leave the show. But you know, we love you. You got our
Yeah.
support. And we're gonna see you, and we're gonna be back
That's
on here
right.
talking to you, you know,
Welcome.
because
Yep,
the county
anytime.
prosecutor is Fanon Ruckers. Now tell us
That's
what you
right.
do in office. Tell us how you been doing since you've been in office. You know, we gonna after the 7th day arresting, we gonna catch you on the 8th day.
Right.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, the only thing, and I absolutely appreciate you all support and love and encouragement. You know, none of what any of us do that we're successful at comes in isolation. None of it comes when we're sitting in a box. It's only because we're surrounded by folks who lift us up. You know, the race that we run is so much more difficult when there's nobody around us encouraging us to take that extra step. But when we have a group around us that say, yes, you can, and God got your back, and we got your back, and we're in front of you, and we're supporting you and loving you, then you can accomplish anything. And so don't only have that, but I encourage everybody to be that for somebody else. And I appreciate y'all being that.
Hey, we love you, man. We love you. What you got, Janice?
Vote, keep voting. And yeah, you know, stay positive, keep them hands clean, wear your mask, and you know, stay positive, do your best, but most importantly, vote. This is the time. This is our time.
This is our time. In order to see the change, you got to be a part of the change by getting out there to vote. So we thank you, Mr. Fanon Rucker, for being here and talking to us. You know, I'm sure I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon, my brother. I'll see you soon. And y'all know what I say, and y'all know what I do. It's always better to give than it is to receive. We'll see y'all next week.
Next Wednesday, 6 p.m.